chose for my senior capstone topic, Christian persecution in public schools. So, some of you might know the definition of Christian persecution, but according to Open Doors, it's defined as any hostility experienced from the world as a result of one's identification with Christ. So any hostility meaning verbally abused, physically abused. You see more of the physically abused on overseas is what Patrick was talking about, and since mine is in public schools, it's more of the verbally abused. So the reason why I chose this topic is because I'm planning on studying elementary education when I go to college and becoming a public school, a teacher, either public or private school. So if I'm going to teach in public school, I want to know my rights and the rights of the students as Christians. So some current events. One is there was a student, he was in high school, his name is Kenneth Dominguez. He was told that he can't bring his Bible to school or share his faith with any of his fellow students. So the administration told him that he cannot say his faith, or he cannot tell people about Christ or bring his Bible to school because of the separation of church and state. So even though he was told this, he brought his Bible to school anyway, told people about Christ anyway, because we have a freedom of speech and religion. So later it turned into a 2-day suspension. Another current event is there was a first grader. She was young. This was in a public school, and they were writing letters to people in the army overseas. And so I'm guessing she came from a Christian home because she said that she wanted to write "God bless" and that God loves you on the note. The teacher read it and threw it away in front of her and told her that she can't write God on any letters. So I thought that hurt my heart. So we discussed 6 worldviews in our apologetics class over this year, and I'm going to talk about 4 of them. For secular humanism, they say that education allows them to promote positive self-identification and direction. So education is that way outside to find who they are and what they're meant to be. It develops their ability to take responsibility for themselves from what they've learned and to have that creativity and development. For cosmic humanism, they are willing to work within the educational system to promote a limitless society. And for postmodernism, they want to educate the students that all truth is relative, meaning that no matter what you think is true, it's true to you, but it might not be true to me. So they believe that all value is subjective. It's all about what you think. There's no objective way about it. And they also believe that all culture is equally deserving of respect. So they would agree to disagree if you disagree with what they believe. For Islam, they say that education does not influence the man, which is saying that just because you go to a public school doesn't mean you have to believe what they say. And they also say that they develop their religious views outside of the classroom. So when they go to mosque or in their own family, but not inside the classroom. For their educational policy, it does not influence the student for their religious views. And Islam gives the freedom rights of the individual. It's their choice. It's what they decide. For Christianity, education is a main influence for a student or a Christian to develop. That's why you have Christian schools, because they know that education is a tool to teach and to grow Christians. And as Christians, our responsibility is to make sure that our children, or when you have children, that they grow up in the godliest manner possible. So if that means a Christian school, not Christian school, but that you make that path a godly path for them. And God tells Christians to rejoice in persecution, and that even when it comes to being persecuted in an educational system or environment, there's many verses talking about how it's a blessing to be persecuted because there's reward in heaven. And the role of a teacher and administration of schools is to be an example for the students. There's many examples that I researched of Christian students who said they could identify which teacher was a Christian and which wasn't just by their example and what they said and how they said it. So I interviewed 3 people. I'm going to talk about two of them. One is Ashley Wilmore. Some of you may know her. She has taught in a private school, which is a school, and a public school. For her experience, she said that public school was more of politics and that it was either right or wrong, and no matter, you can't say anything about your religious views or your morals or values because you will be kicked out because there's teachers everywhere. And another one I interviewed was Marianne Iyer. She's the dean here, and she taught to prisoners in a jail. So she said that with her experience, as she was limited, and she had the same thing with Miss Wilmore, that she couldn't discuss her religious views or morals because it wasn't allowed. She said that there was a student, but these are older people, obviously, and that came up to her during class and was talking to her about that there's something missing in her life, it was a guy, in his life, and that he didn't know what it was, and she was like, I have the answer, I know what it is, but you're not allowed to talk to a student until after class in that setting. So she was like, come after school or come after class, and he didn't come, so she was not able to talk to him about that. So for my personal worldview, I have 3 verses that I believe are true because they come from the Bible. Matthew 5:11-12 says, blessed are you when people insult you, persecute you, and falsely say all kinds of evil against you because of me. And they're talking about Jesus. Rejoice and be glad, because great is your reward in heaven, for in the same way they persecuted the prophets who were before you. The main thing I love about this verse is it says blessed and rejoice. It's, even though persecuted is not always a fun thing, but your reward in heaven, it's going to be worth it. John 15:20 says, remember what I told you. A servant is no greater than his master. If they persecuted me, they will persecute you also. And if they obey my teachings, they will obey yours also. So this is coming from Jesus saying, they persecuted me, so they will persecute you. It's going to happen, but it will be worth it when we go to heaven and get our reward in heaven. 1 Peter 4:14 says, if you're insulted because of the name of Christ, you are blessed, for the Spirit of glory and of God rests on you. This verse also, what I love about it is it says blessed. When you're sticking up for Christ, it's never not going to be worth it. It's always worth it when you're standing up for Christ and what you believe in Him. So for my personal worldview, I believe that Christian persecution isn't fair, especially for younger students. Like that one incident where the child, she was in 1st grade, couldn't say God bless you or God loves you. But I also believe in the separation of church and state. But I also believe in freedom of speech and religion. Thank you.